I used gas blowbacks exclusively for 8 months. Here's what I learned. They're fun. In the video. Just kidding, just kidding. They are fun, but I learned more than just that. Let's paint a picture, and to do that, we're gonna go all the way back to 2020. I am just getting back into airsoft and decided to pick up myself a Lancer Tactical Gen 2. I used that for a while, beat the absolute heck out of it, and decided to upgrade it. I put in a new gear set, new motor, and my dumbass decided to reverse the connection on the motor, and it spun itself into oblivion, burning out the MOSFET and making the gun completely useless. So I then decided to pick up a KWA TK45, and I think this is where the gas blowback obsession begins, because the recoil on that was amazing and it added another level of impulse when playing airsoft. So we now fast forward to 2024. Evike just released the DD-M4 PDW in 300 Blackout. As you all know, I love 300 Blackout as a platform, so I decided to pick it up, and that's where the gas journey begins. Had such a blast using it, decided to even bring it out during an event, use it in slightly colder weather. I wouldn't say necessarily winter, we're gonna get to that later on in a second video. But there wasn't that many issues to it, and all these scary things I heard about gas being a difficult platform just wasn't a thing with my experience. So I then decided to branch out and pick up a VFC, and the experience was just as good with that platform. 8 months later and 7 guns purchased, I am still in love with gas blowbacks, and I see myself using them for this foreseeable future. Were there problems? Yes, and we're gonna get into that right now so I can help make your gas blowback experience just as good as mine. First of all, FPS. A lot of these gas guns run a little hot depending on your field's regulation, so how are we going to lower it? Well, in this day and age, we have a lot of options available. Easiest solution is switching out the gas you're using. Go for a low powered gas, lower than green gas, something like duster gas like they use in Japan. But on that end, gas is expensive, so maybe this isn't the best option for you. Next thing you can do is switch out your barrel. A shorter barrel will lower your FPS. I had an MCX that was shooting 1.2 joules with its stock barrel. I increased it by about 1.5 to 2 inches, and it jumped up to 1.5 joules. But with a lot of these systems, accessing that barrel to be able to switch it out is more of a pain than my favorite option, which is buying an impasse or a low pressure nozzle. Impasses allows you to adjust the gas output of your nozzle, thus by being able to increase or decrease the FPS on a fly just by adjusting either a grub screw or a magnetic locking screw. Impasses are becoming more readily available in this day and age, Federal Concepts being kind of the most sought after in that department, making a wide range of impasses, but my personal favorite is the RA Tech magnetic locking impasse. It removes the grub screw concept from your impasse and allows you to set firmly the FPS you want it. Do take in mind, with the grub screw adjustment impasses, I have had on one occasion the grub screw coming loose and shooting right out of the front of the barrel, almost being lost forever, but I was able to find such a tiny screw. So if you go that route, I do recommend taking apart the nozzle and using red Loctite. Next up on the pain point is nozzles. This kind of goes hand in hand with your impasse, but I always find a brand that, one, has an impasse available for that gas system, two, has parts readily available, specifically nozzles. In my experience, nozzles are the first thing to break, but they are also one of the cheapest things to fix. But for now, here's a short list of companies that I found have readily available parts to fix what goes wrong. WE, GHK, VFC, W Eagle, Double Eagle. Wow, holy. Double Eagle, Tokyo Marui, and CGS. The latter three are kind of all mimics of each other, but CGS has a little bit of differences using the T8 spec platform, and we'll get to that later on in the video. Next up, we have mags. Mags are expensive and they can be temperamental, and you don't want to break them. I recommend learning and training to re-index your mags rather than letting them drop free like you may do with AEG mags, and you'll keep them in somewhat good condition. But also keep on hand gaskets. Gaskets might be the first thing to break on your mag, and Teflon tape for those leaky seals to help seal them back up. That's kind of all I have on mags. I tend to like the polymer V mags. They have like a polymer shell over the metal, and I think they help keep the mags more insulated. But yeah, that's all I got on mags. Moving on to the next segment, price, and starting your potential gas blowback journey. Where to start and how to get in. That's a little tricky. There are multiple answers to this. Obviously, secondhand will probably get you your biggest bang for your buck, but I do recommend knowing gas blowbacks a little bit more before you buy secondhands in case there is an issue that you need to problem solve. You'll kind of already have the knowledge. And all of the tips I mentioned before do apply when buying secondhand also. Make sure there's parts readily available for what you're getting, and maybe that there's YouTube videos tutorialing on how to disassemble and reassemble it. On to buying new. I used to recommend CGS as your new platform to start with. That's the platform that I had the least amount of issues using out of the box so far, and the mags worked pretty well for me. I have seen on forums that some people are having issues with the mags, so maybe I just got a batch of good mags. But in these later months, I've noticed that the price of parts for CGS are becoming astronomically high. I think I saw an impasse on the website for like $100, which is outrageous. You can buy an impasse for about $30 to $40, so I don't see what sets us apart to making it such a large price. Future chat here. I noticed that it was an aluminum impasse, which you still should not buy because it damages your feed lips or your gaskets or even your loading ramp. You want something plastic to be able to give when jams happen. So if everything's metal, you're going to damage something else internally that you don't want to fix. CGS is also deceptive. If you don't want to tear up the gaskets on your mag, you have to switch out the stock bolt and bolt carrier to use Tokyo Marui compatible mags. That also might require you to switch out the trigger box too, so it's not as TM compatible as you think. Yes, the parts do fit, but you're gonna have to move some things around to make them work. Let's see if I get the name right this time. Double Eagle, on the other hand, has been rising in popularity as being the cheaper clone of the TM MWS. Personally, I haven't gotten my hands on a Double Eagle because at this point I am just saving my wallet for the cool, expensive gas blowbacks. But what our YouTube channels such as Andy the Middle-Aged Gamer and Jagger Precisions have videos on this that I'll link below to see if you like the Double Eagle platform. Lastly, I want to do a speed run of some of the common issues that I've faced with each of the platforms that I've used. First off, with CGS, I've just had the HopUp adjustment arm break on me, but that's because I over tightened the HopUp past the little notch that it has you stop at, and it ended up breaking that way on reassembly. Also, during the colder months, I have had the high-speed bolt freeze up on me when using full auto, but it was pretty cold out, and this bolt kind of rips, so I can see why that happened. Just mind your semi-auto and you're completely fine. On my VFC BCM, I have had some issues with the trigger. Sometimes it likes to lock up on semi, and you'd have to either really rack the charging handle back or kind of mortar it on the ground to get the trigger to free up. After using some PTFE super lube on the trigger components, I have not had that issue just yet, but time will tell if it comes back. This might just be one of those platforms where you really have to keep it clean for it to work properly. On my MWS, the BB ejection mechanism, not really a mechanism, it's just because the seal is so good, when you rack back the charging handle, it will eject the BB from the HopUp unit. That has gotten me into trouble sometimes because sometimes the BB gets dropped into your trigger. So just be mindful of that. Make sure that if there is a round in, you uninsert the mag so that I can clear the whole gun, or it might get stuck in your trigger, causing you to just go into full auto or some other not so good things. On the same vein, my Toxicant MWS doesn't do that as consistently, but the big issue is on the bolt itself, there are these tiny little rollers at the bottom that allow it to smoothly roll onto the track. Those things are not held in place by anything but friction. So when disassembling it, really make sure that you keep an eye on those and don't lose them because they're tiny and you don't want to lose them. My GHK has already been heavily modified, so I don't think I've run into so many issues that normal GHK owners run into, but the one that I have is the tolerance issues only with the dust cover. The dust cover does not like to close without aggressive force, but it's the dust cover. Functionally speaking, you don't really need it to operate the system, so I think I might have lucked out. And last but certainly not least, APFG, basically VFC if you know the OEMs and the parts, but they by far have the worst design for the bolt assembly for a MCX style platform. I don't know why they chose to do it this way. I really wish they would have just done the MWS route, where it's almost the same thing. It's just a clip that holds the nozzle in, but they decide to go with a Phillips head screw, and that thing loves to just stay into the bolt carrier. You cannot remove it easily. I've had 3 of them, I think, so far. All 3 of them. The screw is very flimsy. It is red Loctited in because there's so much recoil. Also, if you're a fan of recoil, thing's still amazing, even if it's like kind of short stroked in a sense. But besides that, it is Loctited in with red Loctite. Gotta use a massive heat gun, and even still, on multiple occasions, I've had that screw stripped from me and me having to use a screw extractor to remove it and then have to find a new screw somewhere. I don't know what to say on that. Be wary with your heat gun so you don't melt your nozzle, but all the time APFG shoots too hot out of the box for me to use. I have to use an impasse or switch out the barrel, and when I go to remove the nozzle to put a new one in, that screw loves to just strip itself. So be wary of that. On WG Shop, I see they sell extra bolts, so the new easiest thing for me to do is just to buy a bolt for $30, buy an impasse for $30, and basically put together a brand new bolt, so I don't have to worry about getting that red Loctited screw out of there. But yeah, make sure you have tools and time, and you can remove it. But there you have it, the things that I have learned from using gas blowbacks exclusively for about 8 to 9 months. If you have any other questions, please leave them down in the description, and I'll do my best to answer each and every one of them. If this video helped you out in choosing a gas blowback or starting your gas blowback journey, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for some more gas blowback content. And if it didn't help you, leave a comment in the description to let me know what to do better or to add in a potential part 2. As always, stay safe, have fun, play airsoft. This is Tacked Up signing out. And if you want to see some more gas blowback content, hit the card linked above to take you to a nice playlist.